Setting up your preferences in InDesign is a very important first step for any project or just any time you're going to use InDesign for the first time. I like to set up my preferences before I even open up a project file, because in this case it will affect all of the preferences you'll ever use for the entire application. As opposed, if I opened up my preferences after I opened up a project, it will just affect the preferences for that particular file. So it's a really good idea, and it's a good habit to get into to just the first time you open InDesign is to set up the preferences that you desire. For the sake of our assignments, there's a few that I really want you to take into consideration, as I think they just simplify your work, make things easier, and as a when you're first learning InDesign, they might not be apparently it might be not self-evident the reasons why you're setting them up, but as you become more of an expert user, the reasons why I've set up these preferences are going to become increasingly important, and you'll understand why they're necessary. So to set up your preferences, all you have to do, I'm working on the Mac obviously, so it's going to be a little bit different for PC. In PC it's going to be under your InDesign, just probably in a slightly different place, but I think it's in exactly the same place. But if you open or just press Command K or Control K on the PC for General, and the window will come up, the preferences window, and there's going to be all of these side tabs that are going to do various things. But for our projects, the only things, there's a few that I really want you to change, and they're going to be changed on mine, but on yours, I just want to make sure that they match. So if you go to units and increments, I want you to make sure that your horizontal ruler units are set to inches, both of them vertical and horizontal. Now, if you come from a European country or a South American country, and you're more familiar with using centimeters, by all means use centimeters. But in North American printing standards, inches is kind of the standard. So I like to just keep with the standard here. InDesign does give you the ability, whenever you're using any form of measurement, it will do the math for you, the conversion from any type of measurement, millimeters to centimeters, inches to centimeters, feet to anything you want. So I'll show you in later exercise or later videos how that happens, how that works. But for now, just set up your ruler units as horizontal, vertical, inches, or centimeters. And the next thing I want you to change on this this page here is kerning and tracking. I want to make sure that that is 1. I think the default is 20. I want to make sure that that is 1. And when we work with typography, you're going to see why that becomes really important. When you're setting up more complex documents, you're going to definitely be using document grids and baseline grids. We won't use any of that for our projects, but this is another window that's going to be very important as you become more of an expert at using InDesign. The next thing I want you to change, and it's going to be, I'll kind of always forget where it is if I just kind of click through these very quickly. Yes, here, display performance. I'm pretty sure that the default is 7 for the Greek type below. I want you to change that to 2. And what that does is that depending on the size of your screen and when you zoom out, typography, if it was set to the default of 7, anything under 7 point, as you zoom out, will eventually it won't render, and it will just become these pink bars of color. Now, I personally like to see my typography. I feel like it just adds my overall experience of looking at my work. So I never design with anything smaller than 2-point type. So I like to see anything that a 7 to 2-point type. I would like to still be able to see it as I zoom out. So change that. And let me just double check that I haven't forgotten anything here. I think all of the other defaults are going to be fine for you. So it's just that that units and the units and increments set to either centimeters or inches, and make sure the kerning tracking is 1 m, and that the display performance is 2, and everything else is fine. So once you press OK, these will be kind of a globalization setting of your preferences.